Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. It's been an incredibly full week. We got our tree load in from Jaker from our last shopping trip. Aaron got some grass seeded in the back. Chad has made incredible progress in this back area. And I just feel like we've buttoned up a lot of things.
Yeah.
The fountain. I mean,
Yeah, right.
all of these wonderful things this week. It's been amazing. And it's currently 68 degrees outside and we're about mid-afternoon or getting close to it. So it's feeling
good.
so nice to be out there. Oh my gosh. Also, we are about to, well, no, we are not about to. We are running,
Oh yeah, starting today.
the largest sale that we've ever done. And it's the largest sale in terms of the amount of items that we have on sale, which is why I'm going to read it off of here because I don't want to forget anything or get anything wrong. So this sale, Labor Day sale, runs from today, September 1st through September the 7th. We're doing all Garden Answer kneeling pads at 15% off. All Felco products are 10% off. 10% off all Espoma fertilizers for your fall feeding of your plants. And then new to us on our website, we've got the Fiskars hard shell bottom kangaroo pop-up bag that we use all the time. And we're doing 10% off those. So all of those products.
So exciting.
Yeah, gardenanswer.com. So again, September 1st through the 7th. And I don't think I forgot anything.
While supplies last.
Yes. You guys are awesome. So thank you for supporting our online store and all of that. It's just been a really fun thing.
Also, did we mention we're moving into a new warehouse?
I think
soon?
so.
Excited for that
I think we mentioned that.
It's like twice as big. A little
Is
less than
it?
twice as big, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. My foot was wrapped around my computer cord.
Oh.
I was like, why is this thing tugging on me? Hang on. Okay. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into the video, starting with potting mangave and digging and moving perennials. So I had 3 mangave from the greenhouse that I've had just sitting in there that I wanted to get repotted and put in the Hartley. It was, I can't remember all the names, Bad Hair Day, Lavender Lady, and then Tooth Fairy, I think were the 3. And we put them in some beautiful gray colored pots.
They're all part of are they calling it Art and Soul collection?
I think so.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a part of a new collection coming out from Proven Winners this next year, and they've been such fun plants. We did Thunderbird at my parents' house at the end of their pool, and they still look phenomenal. I gave you guys an update this last week on those. And then we did Catch a Wave out in the large urn in the south garden, and that bloom stalk has just been kind of a wondrous thing to watch grow. And then we dug and moved perennials. I dug the boxwood and moved it to the chicken coop area.
Oh.
We dug the hostas and moved them up front. And then we also dug one little patch of yarrow and moved it out to the south garden so that we could prep the area for the boxwoods.
Sure.
Which we got done. Yeah, it's been a really productive week.
Yeah.
When you kind of think about all the things. Awesome Gardener said, the Quickfire Fab hydrangea looks fabulous. Which hydrangea do you think is best overall? That one. I know Limelight is still pretty popular, and it is for a good reason. They are a pretty plant as well. But the thing about them, I think they're more vase-shaped. So if you like that shape, that's a great one. So I feel like those look almost best kind of back with something in front of them to kind of like hide the bottom a little bit. The Quickfire seem to be, or Quickfire Fab seem to be covered from bottom to top, in my experience anyway. I like the color of the Quickfire because they're more white. They're just more bright in the garden, and Limelight is a little bit more of that dull chartreusey color, which looks really pretty in certain situations, but the white is just such a sparkly, bright color, and it's just been a standout.
What was the one that we planted on the side of the barn? Like years
This
ago?
side?
Yeah.
Were those firelights?
Firelights. I like the look of that one. I think that we dealt with mites on that when we had it.
Oh, we did for sure, because that Scarlet Curls willow was full of them every year.
So I think that kind of held it back.
We should try again.
We should try again somewhere else because I love the look of that one if we could make it work.
Yeah, those are beautiful, and they had beautiful color in the fall. Remember that?
Yeah.
Really, really pretty. Cindy Joes said the giant mangave is so interesting. I know you said the pups form around the dying mother plant, but I'm wondering about the flower stalk. Does a flower produce seeds or pods that can be planted to propagate babies? I do believe that they will produce seed. You have to wait until they mature, like those seed pods are completely dry, and then you have to harvest the seeds and all of that business. It'd be an interesting process. I think it would take forever. And I don't know in terms of breeding and stuff, like if you get the same, if it's a hybrid, if you would get the same plant
you're
from
gonna
the
get
seeds, or
agave
you might.
or a Manfreda.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know about that in terms of how those are
Yeah.
bred. But usually if you're planting or gathering seeds from a hybrid plant, you cannot expect exactly what to get from that seed. Be worth trying though, just to see what would happen. Pamela said, please could you tell me the name of the ground cover under the Hudson Bay hostas? That is a type of lamium. I did plant those in a video. I can't remember. They're like a pink and white variegation. They're so pretty. And they're one type of ajuga that requires a little bit more protection from the sun. I'd have to go back and look for the name of that one because I can't quite remember. Lisa said, would you please talk about your containers? I'm trying to find beautiful containers like yours. Most of our containers are from Unique Stone. We have a couple from Henry Studio. And that's primarily where all of our containers have come from. We do have a couple of Crescent Garden ones still hanging out, like the big black square ones by our flower garden. Those are going to be moved here shortly.
Yeah.
But those have been really, really nice, and they're lightweight for how big they are. That's so nice. Tara said, wow, the chickens are really vocal. I know, oh my gosh. Are they normally like that and you just mute them out, or are they just being chatty? I like the sound of them, though. They are like that in the morning because that is their egg laying time. So they're in there just doing their thing, being super loud. They do tend to get a little bit more vocal when I come out. I don't know if they're like this for everyone, but like they see me coming and I'll talk to them like from a distance and they all come running to the door. And I just chat with them a little bit, and I don't know if they get excited or think I'm coming with food, or whatever.
Probably they think you're the bringer of food.
Maybe, yeah, the bringer of treats. Carrie Higgins said, I saw your pink kneeling pad and wanted to order one for my daughter, but it says you're sold out of that color. Will you guys ever have that color back in stock? Yes, at some point.
We are going to have it, but last I heard it was going to be maybe like November.
Oh, so we've got another batch of them coming. Awesome. We'll let you guys know when we have those back in stock. And I think you can request to know, right? Like, do you get an email?
You can request to be notified when something's back in stock. Yeah.
Cookie Scott said, love listening to the chickens. Did you make the coop? No. So when we moved in, that chicken coop it had a sign above the door that said potting shed. And I think that's how they used it. It was full of like gardeny things. Yeah. And that's how I used it for a while. But the door was such a pain to open. The door that we have on there now was something we put on. The other door was like, remember, it would drag on the ground and it was super hard to get open. Yep. So I put stuff in there and just didn't really get in there I don't know. I keep everything in the barn where it's easy to get to. And then attached to that was a root cellar. So you go into the potting shed and directly to the right inside that door, there was a little set of stairs that went down into a really creepy root cellar that was leaking. And so we had that demolished. Raised. Yeah. And filled in, and that's where the chicken run is now. And it's just so much more practical and usable, user-friendly at this point. Oh, on top of that, do you remember the silver lace vine that was planted on top of the root cellar? How
stinky it was, too.
Oh, so stinky. When it bloomed? It's so pretty when it blooms, but so stinky. And those vines were coming into the coop, into the potting shed back then. And there was just vines growing all over the place inside. Much better now. For sure. Melanie said, would you be willing to show us the next time when you have spider mite breakout what the damage looks like and what to look out for? You've only shown us spider mite damage on boxwoods, but not other plants, I think. No, I showed you spider mite damage recently on our limelight hydrangeas that defoliated them. And I think I've showed it on some other things in the past. I know it's kind of hard to search. Our videos are kind of impossible to search for specific things. Yeah. They're very hard. But I will continue to show when that happens. It's just been such a huge problem, not just for us, but our entire valley has had a struggle with that this year. And I think that's due to the heat. They love heat. They love dry heat. They also flourish when it's smoky. We've had an incredibly smoky summer, and it's just like everything booms. Mm-hmm. Those type of things boom in that sort of situation. So it's just been a bad one. Vintage said, I have Firefly Peach Sky Yarrow. Its leaves brown and die, seemingly so easy. We aren't on a drip system. Do they need a lot of water? I thought they were drought tolerant. They are. However, I do feel like for them to look the best, they need consistent moisture. Ours are set, most of our flower beds are set to have water every other day. And that's what our yarrow get. And they look really good and nice with that sort of water situation. And every area will be a little bit different, but it might be that yours just need a little bit more. Elizabeth said, I've always wanted chickens, but it just hasn't happened. How many eggs do you get from your 3 girls? 3. 3 a day. You are so great at taking care of plants. It really is a gift. Oh, I feel like sometimes I'm good at taking care of plants and sometimes I'm not. Depends on the situation. That fountain planter is mammoth. Really interesting flowers on bloom stock. Ours get creamy large flowers that last for 6 weeks. Oh, on the mangave. Yeah, the blooms haven't really been super showy. No. They've just been like little stamens, it almost looks like, sticking out of the pods.
Hard to see, too. It's so high up there.
Yeah, very hard to see. Okay, next video is planting Rosa Sharon, clematis, and roses. I love projects like that where I just fill up the gator with fun things and just go find spots for them. I planted the blue chiffon Rosa Sharon we picked up at Jaker. I planted a Happy Jack clematis along the orchard fence, along with a rose I dug up. It was the Bathsheba climbing rose. I didn't even realize it was still back here. It was planted along the fence when we still had the fence by the pond area, and it came back like against all odds. So I dug that up and moved that back there. And then I planted 3 Just Joey hybrid tea roses out in the south garden. Chicks USA said, also, is there a reason your recap videos are not on your channel page?
Well, they're on this channel, our highlights channel.
Why don't we put them on our regular channel? I can't
I
remember
don't know.
our reasoning for that.
You know, we started, the reason it's called Garden Answer Highlights is because a lot of channels, this was kind of like a thing maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. A lot of people started having second channels, and they would put clips of their either podcasts or of their, you know, main videos, and they'd put like shorter clips. And then you would title it that specific thing. So like maybe if it was showing spider mite damage, you might title it like, and it would just be the clip of that one thing that's maybe a searchable topic. And so that was the idea, but we never really followed through with it. And then I think when we started doing the recap video, we just fell into putting it on this channel, and that was the thing we did. I don't know. I feel
like it's cleaner. I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, we don't post anything on our regular channel on Sundays.
No.
It's just kind of habit at this point.
Yeah.
To keep it here. Linda said, how do you keep suckers under control on the crabapple trees? It's a constant problem in my garden. What do you think about sucker punch? I have used it before, and it's worked really well before. I don't know if we have any of that, because I've got some trees with suckers and crabapples, and so lots of them out there, and choke cherry that need to be handled, so I need to get some of that to spray.
Yeah.
You cut your suckers and spray it, and it keeps them from growing back. Yeah, there's certain trees that just want a sucker. Diane said, another great job. What is the plant that was so fragrant by the new roses? The Catalpa. Such an amazing, it's El Nino Catalpa. It was a new one from Proven Winners last year? Mm-hmm. Or last year?
Probably last year.
Yeah. Oh.
If you can find one,
do it.
Plant it.
Plant it, for sure. Diane went on to say it was beautiful, and I try and stick with mostly fragrant flowers, so I'd really like to add it if it goes down to zone 5. That I don't think so. I think it goes down to zone 6, right? Let me check. If it's a zone 5, that would be amazing. Zone 6 through 9. I think that's why ours died back all the way last year. I mean, we're right on the edge, maybe.
Yeah. Not according to our zone. We're supposed to be a 7.
That's baloney. C. Stillwagon said, we moved into a new house a few years back that had 2 clematis plants growing. What is the easiest way to determine which of the 3 kinds they are? Just try to observe their bloom pattern. Try to determine where the old wood is versus the new wood that it produces. See if it's blooming off of both old and new wood. If it's only blooming on new wood, it's a type you can probably cut back further and clean up further than ones that bloom on old wood. If it blooms only on old wood, then it's a type I would probably leave alone. But it's something you'll just have to kind of pay close attention to. Or if all else fails and you just don't mind maybe losing blooms for a year, you could cut the whole thing back and just see what happens. See on the new growth if it produces blooms, and if on the new growth it doesn't produce any blooms that year, it'll probably do it the following year because it might be type that blooms on old wood. Tom said, Rosa Sharon are pretty, but I finally had to remove mine because wow, did they ever reseed themselves. It was almost as bad as the tree of heaven in the alleyway behind my house. Dang, do you have that problem in your area? We do not. And it's probably a moisture thing. We have to target water our stuff, and if it, you know, the area around it isn't getting any kind of moisture, which we won't, you know, we try to be as efficient as we can. Seedlings just don't tend to pop like they do on other things. And I don't think any of ours, Rosa Sharon, are necessarily sterile, right? That's just a buddleia thing for us, usually, like noting if it's a sterile variety.
Yeah.
But we haven't had that problem with Rosa Sharon's, but I have heard of it being a thing for some of you guys. BW said, enjoyed the video, especially the very pretty Rosa Sharon. I was wondering whatever happened to the rabbit who visited your garden this year. I don't know. We saw that rabbit cruising around, ate my beans twice, and never ate anything else, and I don't know what happened to it.
Maybe it found a better spot.
What better spot?
Well, the neighbors have an orchard. I don't know.
Yeah, but we've got like low growing plants that are easy to get to.
Yeah.
I don't
Rabbits
know.
start climbing trees. Although there's a lot of fruit that falls on the ground too.
There is. Oh, noticing skunk activity.
Yeah.
Saw one in the cameras the night before last along with a fox. Tons of cats. Oh, tons of cats come through our property every single night. Linda said, have you ever found a hummingbird nest? Thanks for the video. Everything is filling in as you predicted 4 years ago. Yeah, I can't believe sometimes when I look at certain areas and try to remember back what it looked and felt like 4 years ago out in the South Garden. It's just incredible. And I wouldn't be surprised if we come across some hummingbird nests after this year, because the amount of activity we've had from hummingbirds this year is just amazing. I haven't seen as many any other year we've been here than this year. Dawn said, I received some free bare-rooted Annabelle hydrangeas from a friend's garden and planted them with Biotome. Question, should I have prepared them in a certain way before planting? You know, that's perfect. You know, you planted them with something that's really good for root development. That Biotone starter fertilizer is awesome. Just make sure to keep them really super duper moist. Sometimes when I transplant things, if it's really hot, I will really soak the root ball like in a bucket of water before I put them back down in the soil. So that's something you could have done, but as long as you're keeping them really moist for, you know, a while, making sure they don't dry out, you'll probably be fine. User said, I've been told it's best to cut the Rosa Sharon back fairly severely down to 12 to 18 inches every fall for 2 to 3 years to improve its bulk and limb strength. Is that something you do or recommend? I've planted 2 this year and I'm planning my fall chores. I've never done that before. I've never heard that before. They do bloom on new wood, so I can't imagine it would be a bad thing to do. I would probably wait till late winter, early spring to do that though, not do it right before winter. So, I mean, I don't think you would hurt the plant, but it's just not something I normally do, so I can't tell you from experience what or how it affects the plant. Annie said, does Rosa Sharon come in pink? Mine is pink and never bloomed. The buds come out but never open. What can I do? Dang. Yeah, they do come in pink, and the buds come out. Do they just yellow and fall off? Is that maybe what happens? Is it a light issue, water issue? Yeah, I would probably lean toward a water issue first and foremost. I don't know, do the leaves look healthy? I'd probably have to see where it's located, what kind of climate you're in, and what the rest of the plant looks like to really kind of hone in on what's going on. But I would probably check light and water and fertilizer first. Next video was setting up the most glorious fountain in the cut flower garden.
And it is glorious.
Oh, it is so pretty. It took us forever to pull the trigger, and when we did, it was like pretty quick. Like we'd been looking at a whole bunch of different types of fountains for, you know, months and months. And we'll go through times where we would look at fountains and then just forget about it for a while, look at fountains, and then finally...
I think what it is that, at least I feel this way, you probably agree, you just get sick of just not having a fountain there or having an empty space when it's like, okay, stop
just pick
looking.
one.
Let's just pick one.
Pick one.
Let's just move on and just get a fountain there and, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it.
What's the, there's some saying that's like perfection is the enemy of something.
Productivity.
But the idea is like something is better than nothing. So if perfection is stopping you from, you know,
moving
enjoying
forward,
something, or if you can get 80% of the way there, that's better than 0% for the rest of your life.
I feel like we got further than 80% with this fountain.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Although when we were unboxing it, we were both looking at the color, kind of like, I don't know about this.
I think they sent us the wrong color. It looks so light. And in our defense, it is a different color than the color swatch on the internet.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be natural concrete, which on the internet looked light gray, like I'm used to ordering. They show it in gray stone, so it's a darker gray in their in the stock picture. Image that comes up. And we didn't order it in that color, and I knew that. I knew we ordered it in natural, but when we opened it, it definitely is lighter than the color on the internet. So, like, if you want to, and that's the thing, like, when you're spending that kind of money on something, it's probably worth it. I don't know if they send out, like, little sample
swatches
of, you know, I don't know how they would do that to get the color just right. Thankfully, it worked out beautifully in our space. But we had to break for lunch. I was just like, I gotta step away because I don't know what to do here. Like, I don't know if it's going to be too light or if I should stain it or if we should just halt progress.
Well, I don't know if you can tell, but we cut a part of the video out where you had kind of discussed a little bit of your hesitation about the color. And then once we got it in, we were like, it's awesome. So we just cut out the part where...
Because it's unnecessary. We don't want to be negative. And it wasn't even negative. It was just talking through what we're talking through right now.
Right.
But I don't even want that, like, vibe to be anywhere if it's unnecessary. And it ended up
nice.
Yeah, it ended up just perfect. And I don't think I would want it much darker than it is because it fits the vibe with the flower shed. It fits the whole space and it shows, like, you can see it. It doesn't recede into the background. And I love that it doesn't have notches for water. I love that it comes out on all sides. It gives it such a majestic, like, when the sun is coming through it in the evening, Like that, when it's, what's it, the glory hour, or what's it called? The
golden hour.
golden hour.
Yeah.
I tried to get a picture of it. Pictures do nothing for
Yeah.
what it looks like in real life. It's so pretty. Dapple Daylight said, well, you have to drain it and cover it in the winter. We were talking about that, and we were talking about how we normally do not cover our stuff because we like to look at it through the winter months.
I think it'll be fine as long as we drain it for sure.
Yeah.
And then just put burlap in it. And I mean, yeah, covering it is ideal.
I
but
have no experience with Campania pieces, so I don't know how they weather. I know how Unique Stone weathers. I know how Henry weathers. We have their pieces and they weather beautifully. If you treat them properly, if you drain and make sure that, water can't pool in there. But I don't know how Campania stuff holds. It's kind of a large piece to test it out, So part of me thinks like maybe we should cover it.
I don't know. I think if we just do the burlap, if we're good about draining it and putting burlap in there, I think it'll be fine.
We probably have to
We are a zone 7 after all.
correct, so it should be all right. Mackenzie said, card-carrying member of the Garden Answer Morning Coffee Club here. It was very fun watching you put this together. How do you eventually get the concrete pad under the fountain? Please don't tell me you have to take it apart first and reassemble. Oh, the humanity. I know. The thing is, when you're putting in a piece that big, and it takes forever to get somebody here to pour concrete, you want to make sure that's what you want there before you have something poured. And we just were not sure. Because we had gone back and forth so many times, like, do we want water here? Do we want to plant up this area instead? I'm so glad we went with water right there. That is what it needed.
I will say, now that we've done it once, I think that Paul and I can take it apart in like less than 2 hours, maybe around an hour. We could actually have it disassembled. And that's not a big deal.
You know what we were talking about though, and this is what all fountain manufacturers should follow this. Okay, so you've got your big square piece housing that houses your pumps in the center. Right at the bottom of that housing, that's where the cork is, where all the stuff, the cords go through. And if you ever need to replace anything, the lights, the pumps, whatever, you have to take that fountain all the way apart to get at the cork and to be able to like redo stuff.
I don't know. It might be big enough.
You think so?
You maybe could actually redo it. That opening is like
it's like
10
this
by
big.
10. You might have enough on that
It
specific
is
fountain. You might be able to do it.
Maybe. But on other ones, maybe. They need to move that hole out, like outside the housing, and then have another little like concrete box that goes over just the cork that covers it.
Yeah.
To where your pumps can still be in the main housing.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But
Sure.
the cords then go under and
Yeah.
out to where you have full access and you don't have to monkey with like getting in there. It's really hard to get in there and work on stuff in most fountains. I think that should be a thing.
So you can't buy directly from Campania. You have to buy from somewhere else. And I got an email from someone else, and they said that they're going to try working on like 3 and 4 hole corks.
Oh, they watched it?
Yeah, they watched the video and they were like, yeah, you need because you absolutely need
To have a float.
you need
so
at least 3 holes because
Yeah.
you've got the tube and the 2 pump cords.
Yeah.
And then you've also got the light cord. However, the light cord is real thin.
Yeah, and that one can kind of sandwich in. It's
Yeah.
also an add-on. It's not a necessary. Neither is the float, I guess, in their defense. But
If you
you
sell
buy
a float, sell a,
yeah,
I mean, how hard is it to have a 3-hole cork?
Right.
Super easy.
Yeah.
They should just have, they should have a cork for whichever you do.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I saw one comment.
add-ons
Maybe
you
it's
get.
in here, but someone's like, "Why didn't you run drip up through that?" So it keeps it full. But that's what the float. That's what it's
Yeah.
for. The that clear tube that we put in there hooks to a hose and it hooks to the float, and it should fill itself.
We still haven't hooked up the float yet.
Right.
And we can, but I don't even know if it's going to be necessary because the sprinklers that go off and hit the
It
grass.
does not lose water.
Well, they're going to be adding to it.
Right.
So it might be okay.
It's crazy the amount of water it doesn't lose, even to evaporation. Like
Yeah.
we barely have to top it up. It's amazing. However, like last night when it was super windy, I knew it was going to get windy, and so I went and unplugged it. We do that with fountains anyway. If we know we're gonna, you're asking for it.
Yeah.
You're asking for a pump to burn up. If
Sure.
wind is just blowing water out of it, and it's wasteful. So, anyway, yeah, the cork was really the only thing that we had to monkey with.
Yeah, that wasn't right.
Right.
Admittedly, from the company that we bought it from.
Summer of Stacy said, I know you have hard water, so I've been wondering if you ever have trouble with your dram water wand getting plugged up from mineral buildup. Yes. I've gone through 2 of them recently, and the tiny holes get plugged with in a month or so. Ours don't get plugged up that quickly. Not in a month.
know that there's anything you could do about that.
A vinegar soak. I've done that
Oh,
before,
sure.
and that does
Yeah, yeah.
help a little bit. How do you keep yours clean and clear of mineral deposits? I've tried vinegar solution, but it hasn't really helped. Yeah, that's the only thing I've done. You can buy new ends. I mean, if you're having to swap it out every month, though, that's a bummer.
That's funny. Ken actually just texted me just now and asked what your preferred diffuser is for seedlings.
Oh, really?
Because I guess Drem sells a bunch of them.
It's the red one. I thought I had maybe one in here. I've got one in the greenhouse, I think. Kat from Illinois said, question, does it run 24 hours? Also, are those lights on a timer? It's so perfect for that space, and what a great surprise for us. Thanks for sharing. It does run 24 hours so long as it's not windy. And the lights are not on a timer yet, but it's something we can add. The electricians did come, and it's all hardwired all the way. So what they did, you know what they did.
Yeah,
better
well, they
than me.
trenched all the way from the fountain
Through the
way
grass.
over, through the grass, all the way over to where the power is coming from. So they didn't even have to put a pedestal anywhere nearby at all. They just cut the cords for the pumps and the lights and extended them. And they told us, they said, this will obviously void the warranty for the
For
pumps,
the pumps.
but
Yeah.
we can get pumps from your parents
Yeah.
if we need to. I don't know what size pumps those are. We can look it
They're
up
not
online,
huge.
though.
They're not massive.
No. So if we ever need to get a new pump, then we'll probably need to have the electrician come out and extend that, or we
Extend
can
the
maybe do it
cord.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I've put cords together before, but they probably do it better than
Yeah.
than I could. But so now, right where we had that plastic bag with all the cords, there's just a little green box that's flush with the grass, so you don't even see it. And then the cords go all the way underneath the ground to the plug-in, so it's all running perfectly and beautifully. And the lights. Yeah, so we need to get the whole light situation figured out anyway. Did you come up with anything in terms of, I know you were looking around on the internet trying to figure out if we should put lights up top or...
Yeah. Well, the problem is I don't actually like the lights that came, and they were kind of expensive too. They were really expensive.
Why don't
for
you
what
like
they
them?
are. They're too bright white.
Oh.
It's like a bluish white.
They
instead
do
of
kind of look
being-
weird with the flower
Yeah,
shed lights.
it needs to be a warm white. And I swear that I saw somewhere where I was ordering warm white lights, but maybe not. So I kind of want to replace all the lights.
So guess what? When we replace all the lights, we're going to have to get to that cork. That's when it would be so nice. I like the lights. I think they're pretty,
Yeah.
kind of on their own.
Yeah. But we're going to have to take it apart anyway because they're going to pour the concrete.
True.
So at that point, we can
Yeah.
make changes.
Let's get all our ducks in a row
Yeah.
before that happens. Jesse said, this is absolutely stunning. It's perfect for the space. Question, did you have any suggestions or things to check for when buying your first fountain or concrete pieces? I'm looking to purchase some, but I'm worried about spending a lot of money on pieces that aren't worth it or of lower quality. So I would definitely, on the color front, try to see as many pictures as you can of the different stains. If they send out little samples of the color, look at those. Find a local garden center that maybe carries some of those sorts of things and see them in person.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really helpful because sometimes you may companies look different. Like Unique Stone, I love their finish. Their finishes always look kind of aged, like there's a patina already on their pieces. And I love their pieces, but they don't have great big fountains. That's who I always look at first, usually. And then Henry Studio, their stuff is thick. Like whenever I think of their concrete pieces, they are just like stout, like tough. The big pots in front of the greenhouse, the big round ones with the kind of floral wreath thing going on, those are like, the walls are so big. And then they also were the manufacturer of the Hebe fountain and statue that we have. I've probably got other pieces around here. Well, the fountain that we did not take care of properly and it cracked.
Yeah.
That we're using as a planter now, that one's really thick too.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful to see them in person.
But if you don't drain it of water, it will crack.
Yes. Rebecca said, perfection. When will you have the concrete poured? I think we're on his list.
Yeah.
Just kind of
He told me he'd let me know.
Yeah. Water is Joy said, I'm new to the channel. Is there a video where they introduce their staff? Who is Paul and who else helps them? I don't think we've formally introduced everybody.
No, but we have Paul and Bethany.
We have Paul full-time, Bethany part-time. We had Grace. Grace is, by the time this video goes out, her last day for the summer because she's starting college. Was this last week, and she just helped for the summer months.
Yeah.
That's our staff here. So Paul and Bethany.
We have more staff at the warehouse
than we do here.
at the store. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
There's more. Well, there's more to do there.
Yeah.
I think.
We have such a good balance here, though. Like, I don't want to wreck anything.
Yeah.
It's such a nice work environment here. We all get along really well. Everybody just works and does things, and nobody has to, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think how many full-time How many full-time employees are there?
Oh, total, like between here and there?
Yeah.
4.
5.
5.
Yeah. Riley, Jesus,
Jesus,
Ken,
Paul.
Paul. Oh,
4 full-timers.
just 4 full-timers.
And then
everybody else is part-time.
everybody else is part-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly of their own accord.
Yeah.
Like,
we've told Bethany, if you want or need extra hours at any point, you can be here as much or as
Yeah.
little as you want. She's got a lot of kids
Yeah.
and a busy life. And we try to, she also likes to go to Bible studies, and they're on specific.
Taylor.
Oh, Taylor's full-time.
Yeah.
Sorry, Taylor.
Thanks for editing the video,
Yeah.
Taylor.
Well, Taylor's not here. We don't see Taylor
Right.
every day. That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we try to be super flexible and open with people with their schedule and what they need to do, because we want them to enjoy their life
Yeah.
and enjoy their job. So it's just we've got a really good team of people.
There's several part-time people that will float in and out with helping at the store, or like Grace coming here.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to count them because they just kind of like come in and out. And,
Yeah.
You know, as they want.
Grace also did swimming lessons with the kids.
Yeah.
Not this year, last year, when she wasn't working for us. Anyway, we got to know some really great people around here. Okay, next video was planting cottage-style flower beds in my parents' garden. That was such a fun day. It was a lot of work. We went to my parents' house, gave you a couple updates on the window boxes we planted on the north side of their house, as well as the pots at the end of their pool area and the rock and blue suede shoe salvia. We need to plant that this next year.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so pretty. The color's gorgeous, and the hummingbirds just are attracted to that salvia more than plain the blues, I think. It looks so pretty. And then we went out to their barn area. They've got a sheep/cow barn, and then they've got another barn that's their chicken coop, and there are flower beds out there, and it's kind of like this beautiful area for a cottagey style garden. There are boxwood hedges though in that space too, and that brings that tidiness factor. And there's a little rock retaining wall and part of it. And then there's just kind of some cutouts in the gravel along their picket fence that my mom wanted to replant, because the lavender hedges that were there were pretty old and scrubby looking. So they got rid of all those and left just the roses. And there was one clematis. And then we added in phlox, echinacea, hardy geraniums, and lavender. And we used every single plant my mom had brought home. And I kept questioning her. I'm like, Mom, are you sure you want to put all these lavender get this big, like the lavender will fill up the flower bed. She's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It'll all fit. It'll be fine. It'll be beautiful. It probably
Your
will
mom
be.
is an optimist.
Yes. Which I appreciate.
Like the area that she wanted to do a cut flower garden. She's like, yeah, it gets full sun for like
she
2
is
or 3
going to watch
hours.
this, and then she is going to start texting you, Aaron.
Yeah, maybe. But you know what? It's good to be an optimist.
It is.
And you're kind of like that too. You're like, well, let's just do it and find out. And the pessimist in me is like, no. Let's think this through and let's just do it one time. But you don't care. You're just like, no.
If there's a project that I want to do that I've got excited about, it almost isn't worth talking to you about it. I'm
Right.
just going to do it.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it will work out. It'll be a fun project or whatever, or it'll turn out pretty, and then I won't have to deal with the questions.
Yeah.
Questions can be deflating to an optimist.
Sure.
Anyway, by the end of that day, and I was teaching my mom sourdough that day. That was the thing. The whole project came about because my mom wanted to learn, and I told her, well, it's kind of an all-day thing because there's several steps you have to do. So do you have any garden projects we could couple it with? And I can help you get something done while we're waiting for, the sourdough steps. So we did that, and we got to stop and have a really, really yummy lunch, most of which came from the garden. And by the end, though, the wind was howling. Like, the wind came up so fast, and it wrecked all of our mulch that we
Yeah.
laid. It was a fun day. Deborah said, could you please tell us what the trees are by the newly planted beds? Are they Red Point maples? Yes. Out there by the barns, Red Point maples.
Oh, I don't know. Are
I
they?
think they are. Yep. Jeanette said, do you think your mom would mind if you did a garden tour for your viewers? I could ask her. We usually just do kind of micro tours. Doing a tour when you're not used to showing your whole space, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. It makes you, it makes you want to do extra projects to spruce up areas. And sometimes you just kind of want a relaxing year. And it's been a little bit of a weird year because my dad had his knee replaced in May, right?
Yeah.
I think it was May. So my mom was doing primarily, all the things just to keep your head out of water. When she's used to having my dad does a lot of work outside. So it's just been a little bit of a weird year that way. So I didn't want to put any extra stress on her. But maybe once we get fall stuff planted or whatever. River of Stars said, that'd be us. Our yard is absolutely full of dinosaur eggs, the rocks that were coming out of those holes. I don't know if it made it into any of the footage, but I was auging one of the holes and I gathered up the rock. I hadn't even finished digging the hole. And I gathered up all the rocks that had just come out of the hole and I held it up to the camera. I'm like, this many rocks just in one hole and I'm not even done digging it yet. Every single one of them was like that, and I am not used to that. Our soil, like you'll come across rocks every once in a while or hunks of concrete like I did yesterday when I was planting boxwoods, but we don't come across rocks like that.
It's still better than a shovel though, right?
Oh yeah.
Like by a mile.
Big time.
I think that's the problem is when I see comments of people saying, because I've you know, not all the time, but I've also dug some holes or augered some holes in rocky soil. And like people are like, oh, that won't work in rocky soil. Well, it does. And it still beats a shovel. So like if you're saying that you don't want to plant a plant because you have rocky soil, that's one thing. If you don't want to mess with it, you know, but if you have to get a hole dug either way, you can either use a shovel or an auger.
Augers kick the rocks out a lot of the time.
I mean, and if you're dealing with big rocks, like big ones, it's like, well, shovel's not going to be any better.
Right.
You're still going to have to like chisel the rock out or.
And the wear and tear on your body feels like with the shovel, it's worse.
Yeah, right. Because you've got the impact. Whereas you're kind of just standing there. You do have fatigue with the auger because you're standing there and it's like shaking your body.
Core,
Yeah. So you're kind of standing there stiff. Mm-hmm. So you'll get tired either way, but it doesn't, you don't have the same impact on your body. Right. It's like maybe the difference between like an elliptical and actually running on the pavement. Like you're still working your body out either way.
Right. The rest of this comment, I'd consider getting an auger, but would that even help? Do you guys find that the rocks break your auger? How do you deal with that? They do not break our auger. If there's a rock or a hunk of concrete that's too big for the auger, like I came across the other day, that I will bust a shovel out if I can kind of tell like, dang, I'm going to have to pry this thing out. If you have rocks that big in your soil, an auger would probably be hard, but anything like, you know, we were dealing with rocks about this size and down, it was no problem. It bounced around more than I'm used to, but we got it done pretty quick still. FDA Bill said, so beautiful, thank you for sharing. Could you please share the name of the rose you mentioned that they are bringing back? I couldn't catch the name and it looks so gorgeous. That's the Evelyn rose, and I remember growing up that was always my mom's favorite rose, and then they discontinued growing it for whatever reason. This is David Austin is the grower. I don't know if maybe they had a different one that had better disease resistance or bloom power or whatever, but they may have improved it and they're bringing it back. I don't know the story behind it.
Maybe they had a crop failure
for like years. Maybe that was the problem. Awesome Gardener said, rain while planting is always the best. Which season do you get most of your precipitation? Spring and fall.
Yeah.
We get snow in the winter time too.
Yeah, we just have like a really dry spell
in the summertime. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't get a ton of water, I guess, a ton of rainfall any other time, but it basically all happens during that time.
Right.
And we're lucky enough that there's mountains nearby. Like we talked about, you know, just going 2 hours away. Mm-hmm. So like everybody irrigates out of rivers that are fed from the snow melting in the mountains. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't have the mountains to melt the snow, we wouldn't live here.
Right.
It's kind of like the lifeblood of our area.
Mm-hmm. Doreen said, how much acreage does your mom have? Beautiful property. They have just about 5 acres out there. It's like slightly under, I think. Meredith said, I'm wondering, what can you expect between now and next spring? Will the echinacea set seed and do the other plants winter over? What can we expect? They'll just continue blooming a little bit this summer and fall. They'll work on rooting in. They'll be cut back, and then they'll come back next spring. Glenda said, what is your favorite lavender to plant? I want to plant some and only have space for one variety, so want to do the best one. I think that depends on what overall size you're going for in the end. If you're wanting something that stays more compact, I love Sweet Romance. In fact, I just planted some this morning behind the Hartley, and it grows like 12 to 18 inches tall and wide. I want to say in my experience, it definitely gets the 18-inch side of things, maybe even a tiny bit bigger. But I love that one in that the blooms are really dark in color. They're not like a really light lavender, like they're very saturated purple, so you really see them show up and they're very fragrant. But there's a lot of different varieties. I have had Munstead, which does stay smaller-ish, like 2x2 maybe. We planted Phenomenal in this video, which will get pretty big.
Like 3?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how those beds come together. But that one gets pretty good size. There's Grosso. There's so many different varieties, and I think a lot of them, as long as they fall within your growing range, because there are some that are more tender. When you get into the French and Spanish type varieties, you get into more tender type lavender plants. So you just want to make sure it falls within your growing zone and it falls within your growing area, like size-wise. Kathy said, any way to recycle drip that is not functional? I mean, you could soak the whole thing in a huge vat of vinegar.
Yeah, I don't know
And then you'd
what
have
you
to
can do
blow
about
out
that.
all of the tubes.
I've wondered that. There's got to be some type of a recycling thing because you've seen those huge piles that the farmers
The drip
have
tape.
of their drip tape, and it's the same type of material. And I can't believe that they would just send them to the dump
I don't know.
because they have them all in pot. I don't know. I mean, it's like mountains of drip tape that the farmers have around here. They've got to go somewhere to recycle it.
Yeah, we should figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
next.
could just throw our stuff on the pile
Oh,
wherever that stuff is going.
Next video is a few project updates and finally planting more boxwoods around the brick patio. So I started out in the cut flower garden just to share a little bit about the fountain because we'd had a chance to live with it for a few days by that point. And then I also wanted to show you the sunflowers and zinnias and cosmos we seeded and how great they're looking. They're so pretty out there right now. And then we showed the mulched area and Hebe being moved out. We moved her out from underneath the weeping willow tree. We moved her out about 11 feet. She was so tucked in back there, and it was just a constant fight to keep that willow cut to where you could actually see her. And after the sod was put in, I just thought, oh, you know what? We've got this perfect little alcove that the willow is creating naturally with its branches and being untrimmed. Let's bring her out so we don't have to fight that tree. We can just let it do its thing and look beautiful. And I don't really intend on planting anything much underneath that willow, but just out from it, because I want the willow to go all the way down to the ground if it wants to, because I love that look. And then I ended up planting the boxwoods, the rest of them around the brick patio area. And we finally figured out exactly what we're going to do with the boxwoods to kind of marry the fireplace boxwoods in with the other boxwoods coming toward it. And we came up with a plan that I think both of us are excited about. So anyway, it's all fun and feels good to have those boxwoods in the ground. Lisa said, what kind of compost or mulch do you use that Paul and Bethany laid down? It's so gorgeous. It's a compost, a forested compost. We get it in bulk from our local rock yard. Ontario Rock and Landscape is what it's called. So we just get it by the dump truckload throughout the season. We just call it when we need more, and then we move it around with the tractor or wheelbarrows or however we need to. But it is pretty and it's good for the soil, which makes me feel good. It maintains its color.
Yeah.
It's not dyed. It's just that color, and it just maintains for quite a long time. And I mean, it kind of lightens up a bit, but it looks pretty.
I don't know how it's not dyed. I mean, I don't
it's
know.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Lori said, do you have a new helper besides Paul and Bethany? Everything is so pretty. That was Grace, and that is the Grace that is in college now. Carolina said, the fountain is gorgeous and perfect for that space. Will you be planting any trees behind the benches for future shade? I don't have any trees planned. I mean, yes, we will have a lot of trees in that area. I don't know exactly what yet. My mind keeps wanting to go to like pleach trees that do kind of a curve number behind each one of the benches. Like espaliered, kind of like 3 trees that kind of connect together. My mind keeps going that direction, but we do have currently, with the trees that were just delivered this morning, we've got 12 lindens that will be going in the cut flower garden space, not behind the benches though, for now. And we'll share that whole project here fairly soon because we'll want to get them planted, which means we're going to have to remove some of the stuff in the cut flower garden in the areas where we need to get the trees in. A little bit of sacrifice, plant sacrifice.
Yeah.
To get the trees in so that they don't suffer. Protect Privacy said, now that you have a better idea of the weeping willow's water needs since you've been soaking it with the hose, do you plan to run drip to it? That would eliminate a chore. There is drip in that area. We just didn't have it quite enough, I don't think. And the willow was getting a lot of sprinkler water from the lawn, which ran a lot closer to it. We eliminated a lot of grass from that space.
It's probably like half as much grass as what was there, maybe.
Yeah, so I think it was drawing from that, and that's why the grass suffered in front of it. So we will be running more drip. So probably just popping in extra emitters along the way, just to give it a little leg up there. Does Silky said, I guess I don't understand, but if you're going to pull up the boxwoods along the fireplace entrance, why not replant them where you need them? Just curious. If it were that easy. That'd be amazing. You know the little run we have to
to
tear out?
reuse them?
Yeah, they just don't
The roots are
transplant.
too extensive.
I have tried, like on great big boxwood cones, on established boxwoods, moving them. I had success one time, and it struggled all of last year. You kept saying, it's dead. Look at it, it's dead. But it's so not dead. And it looks good this year. But every other one that I have tried with has died. It's just not worth it. When we're gonna do the project, just start fresh, and then we don't have to monkey with going back in and replacing them later. Oak Park Gardener said this video is so timely for me. Last night we had a storm and my Playing the Blue salvia snapped as well. Are there any annual salvias that don't snap? I think ones that stay more compact just naturally won't. The blue suede shoes I don't have enough experience with to tell you one way or the other, but I do notice based on the growth habit at my parents' house, it does look more compact and it doesn't get quite as like heavy. Like the stems don't seem quite as heavy. Playing the Blue's just like such a monster of a plant. They get huge and each stem is like a plant in and of itself. So if that plant catches any kind of wrong wind, it's going to want to snap. And that's what I showed you in the video where it took out a couple of ours along the east pot situation out there. So I think we're beyond the point of being able to do any like grand finale vote on these pots.
We're probably going to pull them soon.
Yeah.
Because we're going to plant trees and grass right there. So
I'm going to pull the West Side Urns too. I've been a little underwhelmed by them. I love the lime thyme coleus in them, but we lost one in a windstorm. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for something different. Have you ever had the previous homeowners over to see your updates/changes? I'm sure they would be amazed. We were just talking about that last night. I think we waited for a while because we kind of took things from like steady. They were steady. There's a lot of changes that need to happen and they knew that. So it's not like us ripping stuff out was a big surprise to them because they knew that they were right on the cusp of needing to do it themselves. But we kind of made things look way worse. Real quick before we started to be able to make them look better. So I feel like we're getting to a point where like some things have some maturity to them. We're starting to get a little bit of shade from a few of the trees we've planted and areas are starting to button up. So I think we're at a point where we're feeling like maybe they would enjoy seeing the differences. Maddie said, what systemic do you treat your birch trees with? I planted 2 Himalayan birches when I moved in 9 years ago, and so many people have told me that they would get borers. So far, so good, but I'd rather not risk it and don't know if I could treat with a systemic. One more thing I've learned from Garden Answer. We use a tree and shrub. It is an imidacloprid product, which don't Google it. Oh my gosh. Based off of one idiot's use of it in Oregon, actually, I think it was. They used it right in the middle of the day as a contact spray on blooming trees where honeybees were just massed on these blooming trees. So, of course, it doesn't matter if it's synthetic or organic. If it's a insecticide, it's going to kill the bees. And so it was just parking lots just full, like a carpet of bees on the parking lot. So then it got all this attention, and then everybody looked at imidacloprid as being this, like, I don't know.
Like
the devil
is the problem when really you could have used, like you said, you could have used an organic spray. Yeah. And the exact same thing could have happened.
Exact same thing will happen. But the thing about the imidacloprid, it is a systemic that will enter the system of the tree. So if you have things feeding on the tree, it can still affect them, especially toward the beginning of when it's, utilizing the product. So like our willow trees and birch trees, they do bloom in the spring and the bees and things do want to come and feed on them. So we wait until right after bloom time and then we, apply it to the tree. The tree takes it up and carries it on until the next spring, probably like early spring. I don't even know that it's really good after the course of the winter because we do have to reapply. Hi, kiddos.
Hey.
Are you trying to sneak up on us?
No, we weren't. So I got dressed.
You did get dressed. I'm glad. Good job. Middle of the afternoon. Anyway, I was talking about the imidacloprid. Yeah, so it's like a bare tree and shrub is what it is. And you measure the circumference of the tree, like right at chest level, I think, and then figure out how many inches of circumference you have, and that's how many ounces of the product you use generally, unless you're using a highly concentrated version, which is available in some places. So just double check the instructions that you are reading because you don't want to over apply and be wasteful with it. But you just mix it into a bucket of water and pour it around the plant and water it in. And it works really well to keep borers out. We don't treat everything with that, just the things that are susceptible in our area to borers, which is willow trees, birch trees, lilacs, locusts, ash trees. Primarily. Marie said, we don't have black widows in England. Can you tell us about them? Are they poisonous and what happens if they bite? So they are like a shiny black spider, very easy to identify, and they have an hourglass shaped red mark on their tummies. The females
Isn't that on the back?
No, it's on their tummy.
Oh.
The females have that, and the males are like a smaller version of the females, and they're not black. They're kind of a brown color, but you can tell still that they're a black widow because they've got a very shiny and very pointy back end. If you get bit, my dad has been bit. Like, he bit twice. He ended up having to go to the emergency room. But yeah, you usually have to go in and get treated for it. But they're not an aggressive spider at all. Like, they're not going to come running after you. If they see you coming, they will retreat first. They will only bite if you get up in their business. Like, if they've gone all the way back into their corner to try to hide and you're still rummaging around in their corner, that's when they'll attack. But they won't come out after you. So I'm not really scared of them.
No.
We just kind of know they like cool, shaded, moist areas, like irrigation boxes.
Yeah.
So we just kind of know the sort of areas where you could locate them more than others. They won't just be out and about,
Right.
like randomly. So I'm not ever really worried about running into them in my flowers.
You do need to be careful when you're sticking your hand somewhere that you can't see. Like, you want to just check where you're touching. Like if you're grabbing a pot that has a lip on it
Yeah.
or something like that, got to check it.
Yeah, especially in the red barn now that
Yeah.
we've seen the Black Widow in there. Ruth said, I tried to get the iron from you guys and it was out of stock. I ended up getting 10%. What do you think about that, Erin? I put a bit on my hydrangeas, but so far no change. I should have waited for yours to be available.
Should have waited. You made the same mistake I did one time. The 10% is not EDDHA.
It's
And-
EDDTA probably, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, in a lot of parts of the country, it can work.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have high pH soil, it may work for you, but it certainly does not work for us.
Right.
So yeah, we have it. I know Ken was able to get an entire pallet
Oh, nice.
of our stuff. Well,
Mm-hmm.
our stuff, the EDDHA, and it's selling like hotcakes. We'll run out of it at some point
Mm-hmm.
again.
Last comment from Joyful Planting. I heard you mention doing preventative treatment for spider mites next year in addition to the predatory mites. Can you please tell me what the products you use for that? Is there a systemic product? I wish. For prevention or only foliar application. And yes, we are always interested in seeing Erin's lawn care and seeding practices, which you are putting together.
Yeah.
So we did kind of a 2-part video where part 1 was my project and part 2 is Erin's grass seeding project. So I think we'll go out before this video does, I think what we'll do with the spider mites is just kind of bring you along for it. And we've done a video about the sprays that we use, and I think it would be much easier just to link that video here than to try to remember all the different things. The thing about spider mites is they build up an immunity to what you're spraying, so you can't spray the same thing every single time you spray. You've got to switch it up. Again, it doesn't matter if you're using organic or synthetic products, they're all insecticides, so you need to use them all in a responsible way, which means you need to spray at usually dusk is the best time because your pollinators are out for the evening. Not out, in for the evening, and they're not flying about. And so you'll do the least amount of damage if you spray at that point. It's just that in our area with the biologicals, I just don't know that we can get ahead of it. It's just too much.
What I would recommend is going to a website like Bonide. They sell, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 products that say they control spider mites. And you can kind of tell because it'll say like for organic gardening, or it seems like it goes in, there's organic, which is like the most, benign. And then there's natural, which they can't call it organic, so they call it natural. And then there's synthetic. So if you want to stay in the organic and natural categories, just find the things on their website that they sell or in the store that are, and look at the active ingredients, because sometimes they'll have 2 products that have the same active ingredient, in which case you're essentially spraying the same thing. So check the active, make sure you're spraying. Like you said, you have to kind of rotate between maybe like 3 things at least. So start with different actives and start with maybe the most benign things. Or at least the most organic things, and then kind of work your way up. If you're not controlling it with those things and you still see, mites, then kind of just like work your way up the list, and you might have to bring out the big guns. But if you can control it using the organic stuff or the natural stuff, then you never need to work your way up.
And I think that one of the most important things to remember too is to mix it properly. So make sure you're following the instructions on the container, but you also cannot just spray over the top of the plant. You got to get in there. You got to put that wand in there, and you got to get the undersides of the leaves, because that's where most bugs will hang out. They're not hanging out on the top. They're hanging out underneath. So if you spray the top, you might hit some of them, but you still have tons of them underneath, and you're not going to do a dang thing, and it'll get really discouraging. And the problem will get worse. So I think a thorough application to where the plant is just like literally dripping on the ground, and also making sure you keep debris off of the ground, because a lot of eggs will harbor over in like leaves and things like that. So keeping it clean, making sure you spray around the base of the plant as well as underneath and over the top. It just has to be really thorough. unfortunately. It's just one of those things, hard things. What's that last spray that you bought to try? It was like
Oh,
clove and
Yeah,
garlic.
it was just to test it out. It was called
It was a Grower's
Grower's
Ally.
Ally. Yeah, it's got a cannabis leaf on the front
Well,
of it.
cannabis gets mites horribly bad,
Do
like
they?
hops. Yes.
Yeah, so maybe that they're marketing it toward, you know, cannabis growers. I don't care. It's like if it kills mites, I'm sure it would kill it on a rose bush or hydrangea or
So did you
boxwoods.
say what the active was?
Oh yeah, so it's clove oil, rosemary oil, and peppermint oil are the actives.
Which you would think would make it smell like pretty good, but it smells weird. It's a really
It's-
weird smell.
It is weird. It's not offensive.
It's not like chemical smell.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But it's just like this very odd smell. You
Yeah,
can't really put
it's-
your finger on it.
It's very smelly, but it's not.
It goes away really fast. It's not like
yeah,
it
it's
lingers.
not an offensive smell.
No. Yeah, I don't know if its efficacy compared to other things.
Well, I just thought since we have to rotate through multiple products,
May as well try it.
It's organic.
Yeah.
So let's try that.
I think we've hit it on a lot of things. It's so hard in our garden though because there's so many nooks and crannies and so many plants that all of a sudden I'll see another hydrangea. Like I saw one on the north side of the chicken coop. It was just covered in mites, just like webbed up. And I thought, oh man, and it was active. Like the mites were active. And so it's just too hard like to get 100% of everything every single week.
Yeah.
And we don't want to spray 100% of everything. We usually just spray things that we know are struggling, like the hydrangeas and boxwoods.
Some years
this
are
time.
bad. Some years you don't even have to deal with it.
Right.
And then other years it's just oppressive.
We haven't had a huge issue for years.
Yeah, it's been about 3 years.
Yeah. So hopefully, I've been hearing that we are supposed to get an above normal amount of snowfall this year, and it's supposed to be colder. Farmer's Almanac. I don't know how much stock to put in that, but I want to believe that that's true because I would like a lot of snowfall, and I would like it to be colder to kill the mosquito population and
Yeah.
kill some of these overwintering things.
I don't know if extra snow or cold actually kills the mosquito population because if you've seen all the mosquitoes in Alaska
True.
or Minnesota,
Yeah.
I don't think it has to do with that.
Something. What will kill them off?
I don't know. I think one thing that can kill them off here is like a late freeze.
Oh, it also kills the fruit in my orchard.
Yeah.
Yeah, which hasn't been a bad thing at all this year. Oh, I bought one box of peaches at the farm stand, and it was just so nice knowing that I didn't have trees full of stuff. I know that sounds horrible, but when you have a lot of things going on, it's nice to have one thing off your plate that it wasn't like my fault or anybody's fault. It's just
Yeah.
nature did it for us, and it gave us a break from the harvest time, which can be a little bit stressful sometimes.
Sure.
To figure out what to do with all of the stuff and process it, and there's like guilt that comes along
Yeah.
with having a lot of produce. I was just talking with somebody about the guilt factor and how it's so dumb that we feel that way.
Sure.
Like if we wouldn't have planted it, there would be no food sitting in that spot right there.
Right,
So
yeah.
why are we feeling guilty if some of it falls on the ground? But
Yeah.
we're eating some of it and processing some of
Well,
it.
and wild animals are going to
Yeah.
use it for food too.
Yeah,
So it's not like,
dumb that we put that on ourselves.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that is it for today, you guys. Remember the sale, gardenanswer.com, all of the things. Maybe we can dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
on the screen list those things that are on sale and what percentage off and all that business. It runs through the 7th of September. Thank you so much for watching today's recap. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great week, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.